All right, well, good deal. So good to see everybody here. We have everybody, or are we still waiting? I guess we've got the group ready.
I think that Chris Diedrich said he was going to be able to make it. Is that right? Yeah. So we have one more person that we expect who's not yet here. But I think I was trying to do this, trying to calculate as well. I think that our standard membership is 5 people. And so our quorum is 3. And with Jen here as well, then I think that gives us our quorum. Okay, I see folks nodding.
Yeah,
so.
agreed, sure.
Yeah, go ahead and get started.
Okay. Guess I should pull up the agenda, which I didn't do yet. All righty. Well, we'll call the meeting to order, and I guess the first thing is a roll call. Is Michelle or Tim, are you able to do that?
Yeah, Britt, I think he's here to do that for us. So Brittany, can you hear us okay?
I can, and I am here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Hear you great. Thanks, Brittany.
Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and start roll. Chair Knaddison.
Here.
Vice Chair Lewis. Vice Chair Lewis. Member Diedrich. Member Sarno.
Here.
Member Whitney. And alternate member Howard.
I'm here.
Okay, Director DeAndre. And Deputy Director, Engineering Assistant Manager, Tim Host.
Here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for doing that. So the first item on the agenda is recognition of public comment today, but I do not see anybody here for public comment. So I'll just pause for a minute in case there's somebody who's in the waiting room waiting to be admitted or something. Okay, seems like we can move on from that. But if somebody becomes available, then we can certainly do that. And I see committee member Diedrich has just joined.
Yeah.
All righty. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the 13 January meeting.
Okay, Chair Knaddison.
We gotta have a motion first, Brittany.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. I motion to approve the minutes.
Great, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
This is member Diedrich. I'm just a moment late to join. I apologize. I'm having a connectivity issue, but I do second the motion.
Okay, sounds good. Any discussion?
The minutes look great, very accurate.
Excellent. Okay, shall we, we'll do a vote. If you could call it out, please, Brittany.
Member Knaddison or Knaddison?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lewis was absent. Member Diedrich.
I'm sorry, we missed that. Brittany, who is it again that you called out?
think it was member Diedrich, and I
Okay.
saw your voice, but I didn't hear you.
Yes, aye.
Okay, I heard an aye and a thumbs up. That sounds good.
Member Sarno,
Aye, thumbs up.
member Whitney was absent. Alternate member Heller. Oh, the alternate members do not vote, is that correct?
I guess with 4 of us here, I'm not sure.
Okay, since she's an acting member of the full quorum, we'll just go ahead and count a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't that member Diedrich? I think that's, as ex-chair, I think that's what I recall as well, that as if there's a shortage within the committee or group at that time, then the alternate would be able to step in and cast their votes.
Yes, they would fill in for whoever's absent, but we have a full committee. If we have multiple alternates present and there's one open spot, I'm not sure of the protocol for deciding on who gets to do that, but I don't think we need to worry about that right now.
Problem for another day.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So that passes. The minutes have been approved, and tonight we have up next new business, the Old Hamden Streets and Utilities Project. And I guess that that is something that you'll be presenting.
Yeah, I'll get started with that. Yeah, Director DeAndrea couldn't be here this evening. She's at a organized garbage collection open house this evening. So you've got Michelle's there as well. So Brittany and I are filling in tonight, and we'll go over the Old Hamden Public Improvements Project. We wanted to introduce this project to the committee and start to get some feedback from you on the potential improvements to that corridor there, and get your thoughts on maybe some things we can do to improve that. So I'll go through a presentation here, and then we'd like to have a discussion and some feedback maybe on your thoughts about things we could do to improve the corridor for different modes of travel through there. So I'll see if I can share my screen here and I'll get started. Let's see here. Somewhere here. It is. All right. Is that coming through okay there?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
All right, great. So this is a project we've just kicked off here. We just awarded a design contract for this. It's called the Old Hamden Public Improvements Project. It's involves a lot of different improvements in the section there between Broadway and Lafayette Street. So kind of along the south side of the hospitals there is the section we're talking about here. So I'll start with the purpose of this project. Really, the reason this project started was to replace the storm sewer main in there. The storm sewer main is it's got some issues with some pipe damage and some restrictions there that we need to take care of. And the more we looked at the project, we realized the water main and the sanitary sewer main is also due for replacement there. Those are both priorities in the utility master plans that we recently had completed. So we decided to package them all as one project and go ahead and replace them all at the same time. So then, along with that, the project continued to grow a little bit more. We got to think, once we replace all those utilities, we're going to basically be removing all of the asphalt and sidewalk along that section. So it might be a good opportunity to look at maybe doing a different cross section there to maybe include some wider sidewalks and some bike lanes, and as well as the road, continue that as well. So we thought we might look at some different options there to replace it with something that's a little more multimodal friendly. So what we've done is the funding we have now is for the utility replacements only. At this point, we'll be able to replace all the utilities with the enterprise funds there for the 3 different utilities. But we do have some funds to do a 20% design anyway for a complete street section along this area. So what that means is we can look at kind of changing the cross section there to include some, like I said, the bike lanes and the sidewalks, as well as maybe some street furniture and some different pedestrian lighting, and then possibly some wayfinding signage in the area, just to make it a little bit easier to navigate through that area for people looking for parking or any kind of destination over there. So we're going to consider that as well. And what we've got is we're going to put together a set of basically a 20% design level plan. It'll be kind of a conceptual plan for that the complete street section. And then the plan is to apply for some federal grant money to possibly install all those complete street aspects here with the restoration here. We're hoping to hear about that grant application here before the utilities project starts. And if we'll be able to go ahead and do the complete street section as well, we can do basically a full rebuild of this section of roadway here. That's our goal anyway. We'll definitely apply for the grant and see what happens there. But that's our initial take, is to get some feedback on this complete street section so we can put those plans together and then apply for the grant. So that's kind of the initial goal there. A little bit about the background. Kind of the storm sewer main is it's one of our outfalls there for the storm sewer system there. It's called the East Hamden Drainage Basin. And it was, as I mentioned, a key infrastructure improvement in the stormwater master plan. Same with the water line work. That was another priority there. That water line over there is broken several times here just since October there. It's definitely time to replace that water main. It's becoming quite a maintenance issue there. And the sanitary sewer as well is about 50 years old now, and it's starting to show some signs of deterioration and needs to be replaced. So that's really the utility infrastructure key replacements we're trying to do. But I'll go over this as a little bit of kind of the overall map of the project here. You can see basically there's three different kind of districts there that we refer to in this area there. We've got where this project's happening on the right here is this wellness district where the hospitals are, and that's where we're really focused on this project. But the key to the complete streets aspect of it is we want to try to connect this wellness district to the South Broadway, the downtown area district, and make it a little bit easier for people to move their way to the Broadway corridor there, and maybe utilize some of the businesses and restaurants and stuff there a little bit more, and kind of connect that a little bit easier to make it more of a seamless connection between those two districts. So that's really the goal of the complete streets part of this project, is to make that more of a complete connection there and make it easier for bikes and peds as well as vehicles to connect there and know that they can get over there and it's not too far of a walk to get there and explore that area of the city. So if you look on the bottom here, what we're doing with the streetscape goes from Lafayette here all the way to Broadway. And the utility project is basically focused between Clarkson and Lincoln is where we're going to be replacing the utilities. So with these streets projects a little bit more involved there. It goes all the way to Lafayette and includes all the businesses and things on this east end over here. So we're going to look at that a whole corridor there to see what we can do to make it kind of one cohesive corridor there that always it's consistent and a little easier to move down the corridor there. And as you know now, that's kind of a narrow area and it's a little bit harder for bikes and peds to get through there. So we're hoping to recommend some improvements and possibly get some grant funding to actually construct those along with the utility replacements here. Yeah, it's just kind of a blow up here of the project area here. We've got the two hospitals there. That's one thing to mention is we are working with most of the hospitals to potentially use a little bit of their frontage to make some of the wider sidewalks and benches and things like that. We need a little bit of space there. The buildings on the south side there, right up against the back of sidewalks. We don't have a lot of room on that south side, but we do have some room on the north side to do some things. And we've had some initial meetings with both hospital representatives, and they're open to the idea of maybe sharing some of their space there to make it a little easier to move across that area. So we're hoping that'll be a good team effort there to make some improvements in this area. So then here's just a few pictures of the corridor now, and you see it's not obviously no bike lane or anything like that. The sidewalks are fairly wide, but one aspect of the project we're looking at, in order to fit everything in here, more than likely we're going to have to remove the parking on one side or possibly both sides of the road there to fit the bike lanes and the wider sidewalks and things like that. So that's something we need to consider and think about, is that how much is the parking utilized there and where would the vehicles go if they couldn't park there. So it's an aspect we need to consider to make sure we can accommodate everybody who's using that corridor. So another picture of a little closer to the hospitals here, kind of shows it's a little bit narrow there, and definitely have a little wider sidewalk, but the bike lanes are, it's difficult for bikes to get through there now for sure. So Here's just another picture here closer to Craig there, and kind of the view west of Clarkson here. So then here's some pictures of some different concepts and ideas. And this is actually Brighton Boulevard, kind of south of I-70, where they recently did one of these complete street projects there. And they, this picture here kind of shows what they did. They, these baskets here with the rocks in them are actually a water quality feature there that allows the water that runs off the sidewalk and stuff, it'll filter through these, the rock, they're actually called gabion baskets is what they're called. It allows the stormwater to filter through there and cleans the stormwater before it goes into the storm sewer. So it's a nice way to keep the dirt out of the storm sewer. And they also turned it into a bench. So it's kind of a multi-purpose thing that they did. Interesting concept that might be considered here with this project. And another thing they did here, you see this scooter here. The scooter is actually, the bike lane they did is actually a raised bike lane. There's a curb and gutter right here. So the bike lane's not, it's not flush with the asphalt, so it protects the cyclists a little bit more there. That was kind of a unique feature as well, to be able to kind of give the bikes a little more safety there to travel through there and be a little more separated from the vehicles. There's just a bigger picture of it there and kind of how they did it. You see got the sidewalk here on the right, and then you have the bike lane there on the left that's kind of behind the curb and gutter as well. So it's obviously it takes a lot of space to do something like this. Where I'm not sure we can fit all this in, but there's definitely something we're thinking about trying to get some landscaping and stuff as well in there, just to make it a little more pedestrian friendly and a place where people can sit and hang out, and a little more open and inviting area there that people want to hang out and stay there a little bit longer. So with that, it's kind of the presentation we've got. I've got another slide here I'll show you as well here. Let me see if I can get this other slide called up for you. That's what we put together for this project. Is called a project advisory committee. It's basically a committee of local businesses and residents and stuff along that corridor that we're trying to focus on to have them help us kind of get some feedback and some people who use the corridor quite a bit more that can help us you know, kind of get some ideas about what's happening now, what might need to happen in the future. So let me call that up here. In the meantime, if you have any questions or anything about the project I can answer here, I can answer any questions or any thoughts you have about the corridor there. We mainly want to get some feedback from you as far as if you have any experiences in the corridor there, anything that you are aware of that needs to be something that would be good to address in that corridor. I'd definitely be open to any feedback you have right now.
Yeah,
yes,
Member Sarno.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Knaddison. So Deputy Director Hoos, thank you for the presentation here. As I recall, Director DeAndrea brought, I think it was last year at some time, kind of a list, if you will, of projects the city was looking at. And I think ETAC kind of summarized what our priorities were as projects. And I recall Old Hampden being bumped up to the top tier, if you will, of projects. So I appreciate this. And I think it's really important for the city as well, too, with this corridor. As your one slide alluded to there, you know, with this city center and then Broadway and then the wellness corridor to kind of bring that together. And this is a really good start to it. I would just have to ask as well, too, though, and this is very premature, but I'm imagining that some of the traffic impacts will be there, but I'm guessing that there will still be at least kind of traffic being able to navigate both ways on the road, or would it be like one lane would be closed? I mean, you've got emergency services and so on going in and out of the hospital where you're there. I know that's probably way out in the future, but that's obviously being entertained, right, by the city.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how we need to, that's why we're working with the hospitals to understand how they use the corridor and where they come in and out, and then how we need to accommodate that. But yeah, we definitely still have two-way traffic through there. We need to get one lane through both ways. And more than likely, the parking would be the thing. We'd have to eliminate some of the parking to fit things in there to make sure we can, we may need some turn lanes still and stuff to get people in and out of the hospitals there. So we're
right.
Definitely getting all that feedback from everybody to understand how the corridor is used and what we can do to maybe improve it for everybody who uses it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, not that I wanted to, but I've had to be there at the Swedish, you know, there. But in my experiences there, I've noticed that the on-street parking gets to be quite full. And, so does the parking structures. But they did build another one recently. I think that's right off of Logan, the first street, I guess, to the east there. But there's another structure that was built that I think is a pay parking lot or parking garage, I believe, as well too. So however that is, but I've always experienced what would be kind of very, very high volumes of parked cars and so on through there.
And that's one of our thoughts, is to do some of that wayfinding maybe. So if we do eliminate the on-street parking, to point people to other parking areas that are close by so they can do that. You're right, that new garage, I think it's somewhat underutilized from what I understand. I don't think a lot of people know it's there and how to get into it. So the thought would be to help people know how to get in there so they can still come down and feel like there's a place to park and not be driving around forever finding a parking spot. So that's one of the aspects of this, is to help people just kind of understand what's available in the whole neighborhood there, and including down to the downtown district there.
Thank you.
I think in hand order, we've got Mayor Sierra and then Member Diedrich and Member Heller. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, mine is more of a comment. Deputy Director Hose, I know that you asked us for feedback, but I've been getting a lot of requests from the residents that are just off of Old Hampton and Sherman. There's a 4-way stop there, but they would love to see a crosswalk. So I know I brought it up to Director DeAndre, didn't fit basically just the requirements to actually put a crosswalk there, but something that we definitely should look at as part of this larger project. That's all. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
That's a good point, Mr. Sierra. That was one I was going to bring up as well. So thank you. The connectivity, especially closer into that older part of the Broadway corridor there, I think is going to be important. And, there's the city parking lot on the backside there and some bike connections. And we're looking at, bike lanes to the east and west of Broadway as sort of thoroughfares as part of the broader plan that's being implemented here. So, if there are ways that we can tie that in, and also down to the Little Dry Creek Trail, I think those will be very helpful on the pedestrian side. And, there's something we can do on that little spur of Lincoln that links down to the trail down there or something. It's about 1 block, not even a full block. If we're able to tie that in, and it's exciting to see this after recently seeing the list of improvements. It's cool to see you guys coming forward with something right away. So, this is great. The complete streets integration, I think, is going to be an important part. Things like the raised colored sidewalks, especially around the hospital, but just generally in the whole area. And this is an interesting one here. You got the trolley that goes through there, and you want to promote cyclists, but also all the hospital traffic. So, you guys have a challenge, and we appreciate being able to provide some input. So thank you for that as well. I think the pedestrian part of it, Logan, it's kind of an interesting intersection there as how that fits in, because it's a little more high traffic. I'm not sure what to do, along the lines of the pedestrian crossings. I think those are going to be a big part of it in the markings in that area. The parking, I would love to see a little bit more of the pedestrian and cycle area versus some of the parking. Also understand that there are some large buildings that have a lot of people in that area, and there's not a lot of free short-term parking, but there are some side streets in that area. And some of those businesses, we do have things in place that are to, have them provide parking. So, like the requirements for parking garages and stuff, but some free on-street parking, I think, is going to be important to maintain, at least in some areas along there. I was also curious, there's an area by Corona to Ogden. It's kind of a park-like area. Is that private property? Is that part of one of those buildings there, or is that a park? Because I've seen lots of people using that space, but I'm kind of curious if that's something that we could also tie in more and add a little bit of park area, because there really isn't much like that over there as a feature of that neighborhood either. So adding the pedestrian features and the benches and stuff on the street, I think is really good. Kind of these small micro park areas could also be good for that area.
It's good. Yeah, I'm not sure about that Corona and Ogden area there. We'll have to take a look. But yeah, we're looking for any kind of pockets like that we can find to help integrate those into the street and be able to use that to make it a little more of a place you can relax a little bit better and not be so close to the traffic. So we'll definitely take a look at that. I appreciate that feedback. It's good.
All righty, Member Heller, I think, has a comment or a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jen Heller. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I grew up here in Englewood and work in Englewood schools, and now, of course, I live here in Englewood. And I actually grew up right on Marion and Old Hampton, so I'm very, very familiar with this corridor and spent a lot of time on that at that 7-Eleven right there in the corner. So as a kid, I'm excited to hear this. My dad still lives over in that area, so we talk a lot about all the development and things that are happening in that area. And I'm curious if one of the goals of this project is to kind of reduce traffic that exits off of 285 into there and make it more pedestrian and people friendly, and then have people go, if they want to go by car, around it? Or is the hope that you're bringing a lot more traffic in to hit the businesses there? And you don't have to answer right away, but if you know.
Yeah, that isn't really something we'd considered any kind of traffic flow type of issues or anything. I think that connection there is still important to the emergency services there for the hospitals there. But I think the thought was just to make it a little more easier for pedestrians to walk through there and bicycles and be able to keep the traffic able to do what it needs to do, but also let other modes of travel use that corridor as well, as we're trying to find a way we can make it a little friendlier for everybody that's trying to get through there.
Yeah, I just know it's become a very heavily trafficked exit compared to what it used to be with the apartments and all of the other stuff that's going in there. So, and I also know people come in very quickly because poor Caribou has been hit numerous times. So keeping that in mind of like how to manage how fast and how much traffic comes from that little tiny exit right there. But also comes down to this place where we're trying to make it more pedestrian and bike friendly. So just was thinking a little bit about that. I would also venture to say that there might be citizens that live to the north of that area that are concerned if more parking gets taken away because of limited parking. I know that, where my dad lives, they have recently had permit parking only put up because of the nursing home and how many driveways were being blocked all the time by the employees there. So, I am all for less cars and more friendly areas, but just something to keep in mind that maybe people who live to the north of there don't want people coming to park in there, and giving some kind of parking for all the restaurants that are up there now too. And my last question was, given the number of high rises that have sprouted up over there, apartments and all of that, is there a plan, or does the storm sewer system take into account the winter, and will it help with all of the melting? I just noticed that there's so much more ice built up because of the high rises all along that whole corridor of Old Hampton. And I'm just wondering if that's something the city will address with more frequent snow removal, or the storm drain project, will that help it as well?
Yeah, so the storm drain project won't do a whole lot for that, but you're very right about the ice issue. That's something we're experiencing this winter quite a bit, and the tall buildings and the north faces there are definitely impacting the amount of ice on the street. So that is something we're going to need to consider, how we remove the snow and ice from that area, because it has become an issue there when you get those storms, and then it's so cold for so long, it does cause that ice to build up. And something that'll be a different program there to try to understand the snow removal process and how we might need to do that a little differently. But the storm sewer is mainly just for the ice and stuff. It'll just trickle in there. The storm sewer is not too much impacted by that, but the main part of the storm sewer impact is for the big summer storms that come through, and we're able to take those and get those down to the river as quickly as we can, is what we're trying to do with that. We've had a a few flooding issues in this area. I know at the Swedish emergency room at one point got flooded in this area. We're trying to address that in some isolated areas that are impacted by the storm sewer being a little bit undersized. So that's what the main goal of that will be. And then the ice removal is definitely something we're aware of and looking into to see what we can do to improve that as well.
I had a question sort of along the same lines as Member Heller's first comment about the dynamic of cars coming off of 285 there by Caribou. And I was to the, I guess to the east of Lafayette. And I was curious, this seems like, you know, it'll be a real change in the nature of that road for cars coming. You know, already it's a very abrupt change that they come down to, you know, a much slower speed limit there. And I was curious if the city had thought about any changes to that section to the east of Lafayette to try to get cars to slow down as they head into this area. I know that there's a new like apartment building or multi-dwelling building going in at Lafayette and Hamden on the northwest corner. And it seems like there's a lot of shifting towards denser use in this area that would have a lot more pedestrians. So if we could get cars to slow down as they come off of 285, that feels like a good goal.
I think that's some good feedback. As I look at the map here, you're right. That is something we need to consider when we do this, because if you're encouraging pedestrians out here and we still got cars flying through here, that's not a good combination. We want to make sure everybody's comfortable out there. So that's it's not in the current scope, but I definitely think that's something we need to consider with this, what kind of section we're going to have here. You're exactly right. That's want to have an issue you know about and not address it with these improvements here. Now's the time to think about that and talk about it. So that's some good feedback. I appreciate that. We'll definitely take that into account here with the, and at this point, it's just going to be a preliminary design, but we definitely want to make sure what we put here is going to work for everybody and we don't make things worse. That's definitely some good feedback. I probably should have taken it all the way to Hamden there and just included it. You want to have that little piece and then the rest of it's all totally different. So we want to make sure the corridor is consistent. So something we'll think about for sure.
Yeah, and I know that that at some point in there is the line between Englewood and Cherry Hills Village, and I wonder if maybe that's why that is set up that way. So it might be that for that last block, it has to be a bit of a collaboration. Yeah, and Mayor, oh, sorry, go ahead. Mayor Sierra? Yeah.
Actually, that was going to be my question, Chair Knaddison, was whether or not that initial block is Cherry Hills Village, because if so, I'd be happy to talk to them about whether or not they would be in favor of either like narrowing that aspect of it, or I'm actually meeting with Russell later on tonight, so I could definitely bring it up to him if they would consider it, if it is their property.
I'm not sure on that. That's a good point there. We'll have to look and see. I don't think it is. I think the limit is the shopping center or something. I'm not sure if that's their road or not. I'll have to look and see if it is. But either way, we'll make sure we get that included. If we need to collaborate with Cherry Hills Village, we'll do that, because that is a very valid point that we don't want to. The goal is always try not to have the dividing line of cities be the shown out in the public there. You don't want it to be, well, this is Englewood and that's Cherry Hills Village, so it's different. The road should be, try to make it as continuous as we can. So we'll definitely, if we need to collaborate there, we'll get that connection together if we need to make sure we consider that last little block there. I think that's really good feedback there. I think you're appreciate all the feedback you guys are giving here. This is all good information here. That's why we like coming to you to get this kind of feedback, to make sure we're thinking of everything we need to when we do these types of projects.
Yeah, Member Sarno?
Yeah, so Member Heller, you brought up a memory for me, because I think ETAC also discussed when that accident happened at Caribou over there, because it'd been the location of several accidents in that plaza there. So we did bring that up, and again, this is, I think, sometime last year we discussed that, but 285 is obviously, I believe, owned by CDOT. there, because we had talked about and member or Chair Knaddison, correct me if I'm wrong, different applications possibly that we could use for the road going off of there, or even some signage going back, I believe, to the east before the road. And if I recall, I think Director DeAndrea mentioned that that's 285, so it's CDOT, and there would be some coordination would have to take place between the city and CDOT to make any changes farther back, I believe. So, so that presented a challenge there too, but absolutely, there's no easy answer, I think, to some of these challenges here, but it's good that we're discussing it right now. One other thing that I wanted to bring up, because I think there's consensus about the amount of parking and need for parking here, but with that new parking garage that's been constructed, I don't know if the city can reach out to whoever owns it or manages it to kind of use that as a kind of, pivot, if you will, to, and if Deputy Director Hoos, you mentioned that it's probably being underutilized right now. I'm curious if it's, again, we can take some of that volume that's on the street and just somehow get them to those parking garages, because there's two. One is, I think, the old one that's to the east there, right? And then there's that new one that's closer to Logan, one street over, I believe. So if that's something else the city can engage with whoever owns or manages that garage to try to help alleviate some of these, really high volume on-street parking, I think that would be great.
So yeah, I believe that new garage is owned by Craig. I think Craig is the one that built that new. I think it's on Emerson. There is the one that's kind of the newer one that's not fully used yet, but that is something we are going to talk to them about, how we can share maybe some of that parking there to make this a little more of a friendlier corridor for everybody. Because yeah, we don't want all the cars on Old Hamden to start parking on all the side streets and stuff. That just moves the problem somewhere else. So we're going to try to find a place that works for everybody there, so
right.
that have a close by parking spot and not have to travel too far.
Correct. I mean, to Member Heller's point, yeah, there is still plenty of cars that I see parked on those side streets to the north there. And, also in terms of the challenges of new development there, some of the businesses, if I stop into the feedery there or something, that I noticed that, depending on the days, whatever, but it could be really packed in terms of the parking there on that street. So even some of the businesses, I think, might be impacted by that as well.
And that's why we've included them on this advisory committee for this project there, to make sure we get the voices from everyone, because yeah, we want to make sure we don't cause a problem for somebody else by trying to fix one problem. There, we're trying to come up with a consensus that seems like it'll work for everyone. So that's
right.
Definitely the goal, is to understand how everybody uses the corridor and what they need it for, and be able to hopefully come to a solution here that works for everybody, that can improve things as we're doing this.
But I ultimately believe it could be just another great entry point into the city, if you will. Done correctly, it could just be, as we're talking about with the Broadway interchange as well too, could make that kind of the crown jewel, if you will, of the city once that's completed. But this is another aspect that I think with this improvement can really showcase the city.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great point, that this area has had basically the same street design with some small changes here and there, but not a complete rethink in a long time. And meanwhile, the character of the street has changed quite a bit, with a lot of businesses switching, or different, pieces of property changing their use, and new businesses going in, higher density uses going in. So it feels like a good time to reevaluate and plan for that trend. Any other thoughts or comments, questions? All righty. Good deal. Well, thanks very much. This is exciting. The next item on the agenda is our signed bylaws. So I'm not sure if there's a presentation about these or anything to be said.
Actually, one more thing on the Old Hamden. I was hoping to get some feedback on, let me show you this agenda for this project advisory committee here. And we were hoping to maybe get a volunteer from the transportation committee to serve on the advisory committee for the project to be a representative. Let me pull up this agenda real quick here and just kind of show you what's involved and see if we might be able to get someone to participate in that for us as well. So let me grab this real quick here.
Yes, please do.
Let's see. That's not the one. Okay, so you can see that there. Okay.
We're seeing the location slide. I think you might have to.
Let me stop share and start again, maybe. Share screen stuff is always fun for me.
Okay, we're seeing a Word document now. It's a little small for me.
Yeah, let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit for you. Let's see here. There we go. Is that better?
Much better.
Works for me. Yeah.
Great. So this is so basically this is just this is the agenda for the first meeting. Unfortunately, the first meeting is they've convened the first meeting, and it basically went over the project like I went over with the group here. So there wasn't much missed, but this kind of goes over the purpose of that project advisory committee is to like I talked about here in item 2, represent all the unique perspectives from people who use that corridor there and kind of how they use it and what we need to consider when we do things. So that's including the transportation committee. I think this project is really well suited for transportation committee feedback here. This is the reason this committee exists is to give feedback on projects like this. So this project advisory committee, they're going to meet probably a total of 3 times. The first one was this evening actually, and then the next 2 are April 28th and June 23rd. There's going to be, I think, at 5:30 p.m. on those 2 dates. There's going to be some 2 more meetings with that, and that includes all the business owners and the residents. And there's, I think, a developer that develops in the areas on the committee. So it's a good cross section of people who use the committee. So that's it's more focused on getting feedback and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other of what everybody uses the corridor for and what we can do to work together to make it better for all of us. So this anyway, this agenda here kind of goes through the different aspects of it, but we've talked about the water, sewer, stormwater design and the 20% plans. So I didn't really hit on the schedule too much on the project here, but the goal of the project is we're going to try to have the utilities designed by the end of the year, and hopefully the utility construction will be starting next year. It'll be early 2023 is when that'll start, and we're the grant application is due, I think, in June to see if we can get funding for the complete street concept plans. So we're hoping to hear back on that. I think it's like August or September, I think, is when they let us know if we got any funding. So we'll know ahead of the utility construction if we can go ahead with any of this complete street stuff as well. But the reason we need the 20% plans is to apply for the grant there. If we don't have the plans, we can't get the grant. The better plans you have, the better chance you have of getting the grant. So that's why we're really focusing on the feedback and the plans, so we can make sure we have a good concept when we go in with the application, that we'll have a good application and a good plan for what we want to do. So otherwise, yeah, I think the advisory committee, they're doing a little engagement exercise. I think they're asking each member, kind of what you think about when you see the corridor there and what you want to see different. So it's a similar type of feedback and stuff, but it's just more of a cross section there. So the thought would be if we could get one of the transportation committee representatives here to maybe serve on that committee for us and give us some feedback with that group. It might be good to kind of get a different cross section of people there. So if that's something any of the committee members would be interested in, if you're available on the April 28th and June 23rd at 5:30 p.m., that would be welcome to have somebody join that group if possible.
Sounds like a great idea. Appreciate you reaching out to the committee and asking for our help on this. I'm kind of curious, how big is the committee? Is this all of the stakeholders with the business owners and stuff around too, or who are some of the other members on here?
Yeah, so it's a group of about 15 people. I think we've got a few of the business owners along there, a few residents along there, and obviously a representative from each of the hospitals as part of the group. And then yeah, the business owners and stuff. We've got pretty much our Hillary Portel, our Downtown Development Authority director, is helping us put together a good cross section of people that have some good ideas and very engaged in that area and understand how it's used and stuff. So it's a pretty good team of all the different users of the corridor. Basically, there is what we've got. So we've got a good team together, and we were hoping to have somebody from the Transportation Committee as well participate in those meetings. And then the idea would be we'd still come back to the full committee with the concepts and stuff to get your feedback before we finalized anything. We want to kind of, once we get your feedback and put some plans together, we'll come back to the whole committee here to get your thoughts on it. But it'd be nice to have one person on that focus committee there to help kind of get the ideas going and different thoughts about what we can do.
Okay, that sounds great. What if there were two people? Would that be okay if two people wanted to join?
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. Yeah, there's no requirement or anything like that. But yeah, if you wanted to, I think that'd be good. But I just want to emphasize that we don't want to single anybody out, to where we're only going to talk to one or two members of this committee. I think this whole committee really needs to have input on this project. This is, like I said, kind of a tailor-made for this committee. There, any kind of improvements like this, or why you have a transportation committee, is to get this kind of feedback on how we can improve things. So that's yeah, if there's a couple of you who'd like to do that, I think that'd be great.
Great. Well, I'd like to be a part of this. I think it is an exciting project, and what do we need to do, and if other committee members would like to be a part of it, feel free to speak out as well. But what do we need to do to express interest? Is there a process to sign up, or how do we go about that?
So I'll pass your name on to Hillary there, who's running the public outreach portion of the project there. I'll make sure they have your name, and they'll invite you to the meetings there. And there is, as you see at the bottom of the agenda here, on April 4th, there's going to be a corridor walk with all of the members, just to kind of be on site there and kind of get a real world perspective of what's going on there and try to get some more thoughts. So yeah, if you could be part of that corridor walk, I think that'd be good. And I'll definitely pass your name on to the group and get you on the email list to be part of that team there. I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, and anyone else, feel free to speak up or ask questions too.
I was volunteered in the chat, but I am also, I'd be interested in it. I use that corridor quite a bit, and like I said, grew up there. So if you'd like another representative, I would definitely be in.
That seems great to me.
I appreciate you having that knowledge there. That's great to have that history. That'll be a lot of help for us.
I would just like to comment and say, thanks, Member Heller and Member Diedrich, for taking that on behalf of ETAC, and completely support you two being on this committee and everything. But I will be asking some hard questions. So, but completely in support. But I'm just want to be there with you guys as well too. So, but thanks for taking up the mantle here for this, for the group, and that'll be great to see what we come back with.
Sounds good. Yes, thank you both for volunteering, and I'll look forward to us still having some awareness of it and having the local perspective represented. That seems like a great strategy. Alrighty, anything else on this topic, or we can move to the signed bylaws? Okay, I'm not sure. We reviewed these as a committee a while ago and had a couple rounds of edits, is my memory, and they're now signed. And I think that for a while we existed as a committee, and like all committees have some level of bylaws, but now they're signed and fully official. So that feels good. They don't have the draft background on them anymore. Is there anything else that, we in particular, we should all certainly be familiar with them. But is there anything else that we need to like discuss or review about them? Or does anybody have some words to say? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, Deputy Director Hoos, I think, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'll try to share my screen here. What we wanted to talk to you about was the bylaws actually state that the committees meets 4 times a year in March and June, and I think every 3 months basically. So we wanted to confirm if that's still how often you wanted to meet, or if you wanted to. I know we've been meeting a little more often than that. We just wanted to see if you wanted to entertain any kind of change to that to have it be more, every other month or anything like that, or we can keep it at the quarterly, and then the bylaws do allow us to call a meeting whenever we need to if there's an item or something that needs to be discussed before the regular scheduled meeting. So we just wanted to make sure, because the committee has been meeting quite a lot. We just want to make sure that that's you want to make that official, or just stick to the quarterly, and as needed beyond that is the feedback we were hoping to get tonight.
Got it. Yeah, Member Sarno, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually raised my hand on another issue, but I will comment on Deputy Director Hoos's comment as well in that. And I would say that, well, in terms of changing in the frequency from quarterly to something, if it's monthly, I'm okay with that as well too. But I guess what I'm saying is that we'd have to look at the remainder of the bylaws document to make sure that attendance wise that makes sense as well too. So I'm not sure right now off the top of my head how else that's written, but if, for example, if that was based on the attendance, if you missed 1 or I think 2 meetings, ETAC meetings, then you could be removed from the committee. Perhaps that was based on just quarterly meetings. If we're going something to monthly, and then that's in our bylaws, does missing 1 or 2 during the course of a year trigger removal from the committee? That's the only question I have, is that in looking at that a bit, whether it's quarterly and whether our attendance is connected to that in that respect. I just want to bring that to everyone's attention on that. And also the fact that I believe it was signed by myself as when I was chair, and I don't know if we want to update that to being Chair Knaddison at this time or not. But
yeah, I think as long as we don't change anything, they wouldn't need to be re-signed. But if we did change in the current chair, I think we need to sign them. But I've got it pulled up here on the screen here, if you can see that there, kind of the bylaws and how they're written. But that's a good point about the attendance there. It's a valid point about it looks like it says that if you miss more than 3 consecutive meetings or a total of 4 meetings in a year. So that's
okay.
Quite a few, I guess. That would be tough.
Yeah.
If somebody missed that many, they must have lost interest.
Right. Yeah. And I just wanted to make certain that, and that seems reasonable, even if it was for 12 meetings, I guess, per year. That's reasonable there. I just wanted to make certain that it was not unreasonable in terms of if it was only 1 or 2 times you missed per year, and then again, you could be evicted from the committee or taken off there, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Member Dietrich, go ahead.
No, that's a really good point. And we hadn't really talked about that before, but we had the conversation about the frequency before a few times, and it was I think we just left it at 4 because we didn't want to overimpose on meeting schedules in the cases where it didn't make sense. And so we've sort of been operating in the way where we sort of decide to call the next meeting at the end of the current meeting, or via email or other communication means. So it seemed like it wasn't really necessary to change that. I know, Neil, you like your signature being on that document.
I'm more than happy to pass it on to Chair Knaddison now. He could be the John Hancock and everything from here on out. That's all good. Yeah.
No, I don't feel like we need to change it if we were looking for input on that.
I don't. That's my opinion as well right now, Member Dietrich. totally fine with the way it's written and signed off on as well. So,
yeah, that's my memory as well, is that we didn't want to make it like overly force us to have more meetings than we wanted to, and that, you know, the way that it's been working is to just plan on having a meeting every month and cancel them if there's nothing on the agenda, or if we know that it conflicts with, you know, a holiday, or if we think that we're not going to get quorum or something. So I feel like it's been working pretty well, and we can stick with it.
Agreed.
All right, we'll continue with that then. We just wanted to make sure we didn't want to formalize that. I think we want to make sure everybody knows when the meetings are and stuff, and make sure we're not getting too far out of the bylaws when we're supposed to meet. So everybody knows this is, if you're interested in coming to the meetings, this is when they typically are held. But yeah, we'll definitely plan for the 4 we have to have, and then the additional ones will, I think that's a good plan. We have some items to bring up. We'll continue to communicate each month and see if there's something we need to get together about.
Perfect. All right. So the next item on the agenda, I guess, is the director's choice or deputy director's choice for us tonight.
Oh yeah, I don't have anything additional. I think I've talked enough there. Hopefully I did a good enough job of filling in for Director DeAndrea. I know she's really good at these meetings there. I'm trying to keep up with her. I'm not sure if she would have rather been at the garbage collection or this one tonight. We ended up with 2 meetings on the same night, so I got an opportunity here that I was able to facilitate things for you, and I'll look forward. I just wanted to say, I guess I appreciate all your feedback. I always appreciate coming here, and there's always good perspectives from you about the different ways things can be done and stuff. It's nice to get those ideas there to help us inform the design and be able to make it as complete as we can to address all the concerns. So I always appreciate the feedback everybody gives here. It was very helpful this evening.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. I feel like you've done a great job. So thanks for taking over tonight. Next up is chairperson's choice. So I had just like a couple quick things. One was, I guess everybody got an email about the Colorado Open Meetings Law. That was sort of later in the day today. And I've like researched that a handful of times and don't feel like I have a great handle on all of the elements of it. The one that was really focused on in the email was just how we should not talk about official business in groups of 3 people. And it seems like there's an additional part there about maybe if 2 people are talking and then 2 other people are talking, but relaying the perspective of a 3rd person, that can be problematic. So, you know, just something for us to be careful. I feel like I haven't witnessed anything that even came close to that in my time. I don't know, Member Sarno or Dietrich, if you have any thoughts of things where we've come close to having problems with it in the past. But I did ask Michelle if there's like a guide from the city attorney, perhaps, of like a, you know, cheat sheet of all the things that we should be aware of. Some other things that I know of are like, we have to announce the meetings in advance. We have to have the agenda in advance as much as we can. And I believe that we cannot vote on things unless they're on the agenda, or if they've been old business, maybe. I'm a little bit foggy there. So, you know, just, it seems like a good practice regardless to put things on the agenda. Yeah. Any other, if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it.
I do, I can speak to that a bit. So, yeah. Well, first off, I'd like to say that I know that Member Dietrich is kind of like the guru of Robert's rules. So I think some of what you were mentioning, Greg, kind of spilled over into that a bit, but I have not encountered as the chair or as a member of this committee kind of some of the meetings that I think they were discussing in that email that I also read there too. So it's pretty much just a conversation if you have with another ETAC member or something of that nature. but singular, I guess. So no merge calls or anything like that has been there that I've been a part of, or as well. So I don't think we've had that issue as a committee, and I think they're just being proactive and kind of trying to get this out there so committees understand that having meetings with several members and it not being advertised as the city does and so on is not acceptable. So, but I haven't had any experiences of that nature that was described per that email. So.
Yeah, I'll echo what Neil just said. I haven't seen that. That doesn't mean it happened without me knowing. But I haven't been aware of anything remotely close to that. And I think the things that we talk about, sometimes we do these in-person meetings, maybe to go do like site visits and things like that, and we have smaller numbers. But we've always posted that as an agenda or an open meeting as well in the past. So just making sure you pay attention to that in the future, I think, will be important. And I think that is good that the city is sending out some of this information to us. And I think I'm not sure what the onboarding to the committee process is like today. I've been on this committee for a number of years, but probably not bad to Greg's suggestion to maybe have some sort of thing like the contents of this email and a couple of other things like I think it's the Bob's rules, sort of shorthand Robert's rules cheat sheet as well. A couple of those things probably would be helpful if the city isn't doing something like that for the newer members. I think that'd be good. And now that we have bylaws, maybe we can include that as an onboarding package for our ETAC committee as well. Thanks.
Yeah, one more thing, Chair Knaddison, to add to Member Diedrich there too, but I'm probably going to date myself right now with this in terms of how long I've been on the committee. But this was several years ago when I first signed on, and the city actually provided, there was some sort of presentation or class, if you will, just an afternoon class that discussed all of these laws and bylaws and so on, and even Robert's rules, I think. I don't know if that's still being offered by the city or what have you there, but it was just something that I remember from the onset, and I attended it. So I can even look back through some of just to find if I have just some good information or packets that was provided to me, and I can send that to you. But it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, at least, I'd say, when I just signed on to the committee. But it was really informative, and it speaks to everything that you're discussing right now in terms of understanding, these sorts of laws and bylaws and what's acceptable and what's not. But I think mostly everything right now that you're doing and we've been doing is well within boundaries, if you will, parameters of what's acceptable and allowed.
Yeah, Neil, I remember that class as well. And, maybe it's, I'm just thinking about it now, and I hadn't really thought about that class for a little while because, we do those things here, but maybe there's an opportunity for the city to do, send it out annually to the board committee members or something like that. Or I don't know, it's a good idea.
Sounds good. Thanks. Okay, so the next thing on my mind, and it sort of is relevant on that topic of bringing up new business or old business, is just that, Director DeAndrea is at the Talk and Trash meeting about organized collection, and that's something that I believe in the past we have had official motions of support for that concept or for exploring that concept. And, mostly on the grounds of it being, we heard a lot of complaints about alleys getting just trashed. And, we looked at the root causes of that, or city staff looked at root causes of that and found it to be heavily related to the trash collection happening there. And in particular, having lots of trash trucks and recycling trucks driving down the alleys, especially when they're wet. And so if, that's how it becomes a transportation related issue. And I don't think we necessarily need to do anything tonight, but it feels like I'm sort of regretting that I didn't put it on the agenda for tonight, and we can just plan on talking about it at the next meeting, I guess, because I don't think that there's any, there's this meeting now, and we can give feedback for it next month when it will be, potentially on the city council's agenda. Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Or yeah.
Oh, that's all I had there. Just a thumbs up there, Greg, to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
great. Yeah. Member Diedrich, did you have anything to add?
Also, just bumped a button. Agreed.
Okay. Cool. Good
Agreed.
deal.
Yeah, I'm looking
Good deal.
forward to hearing what they have to say after this meeting here. But I totally agree with what you said. There's a lot of traffic related issues that go with those trash cans, and we've talked about it extensively.
Yeah. And if you haven't yet taken the survey, I don't know if it's still open or not, but I encourage folks to take that survey. And then the last thing was that there was an email that I got, and maybe you all got as well, about like coming to the city with budget items. And I feel like we sort of got a list of different projects, and we expressed our support for it. And I don't know if we necessarily want to try to do, if it would be useful for the city or useful for our committee to try to come up with some more feedback in that area. But just wanted to hear folks' thoughts, and from any committee member or staff. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. When did that email come through, and who did it come from? Do you remember? Or I don't know if Mr. Hoos or Public Works maybe knows about that request, but I don't remember seeing that. But
maybe I'm making it up. Let me try to find out.
I think it came from Michelle. I think it was what they're trying to do this year is get all the committees together to see all the projects at one time. I think it's in late April. There's a meeting for all the committee members to provide input on all the projects there. I can see if I can find it here as well. I'm pretty sure Michelle forwarded it to everybody.
Oh, I see. Email looks like January 5th. Strategic planning priorities. Is that the one you're referring to?
Now I can't find it.
I have one from the 25th that's talking about the joint committee meeting. The email was sent February 25th, and the meeting was Monday, April 25th. Is that what you're referring to?
Now I see one with, subject chance to weigh in on strategic plan priorities. But that looks like it's more from the public. Sorry, what was the subject of the one that you were mentioning, Member Heller?
I don't know if this was what you were talking about, but it's a save the date is the subject, joint council and boards, commissions, and committee meeting. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I guess.
Did you find it?
Yes, I found that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
I see. It says submit your recommendation list to the city manager. Yeah, that's a great question, Greg. How do we need to be involved in the process?
So I think that meeting on the 25th is to present all the projects, and then each committee will then recommend their top priorities there, I think is the way I'm reading that there. So everybody will hear about them at the same time, and then each committee will, then you submit your recommendations by June 9th, it looks like is what they're doing there. So that's kind of I guess they're trying to consolidate the message so everybody hears the same message, and then each committee can regroup and talk about priorities and things like that. Sorry, I'm not a little more familiar with that, but it's kind of a new process this year. It looks like they're trying. So I think it's, so each board, commission, and committee needs to submit your priorities by June 9th. So if you can make that April 25th meeting, then we'll have a month or two to go over them and get your feedback, and then make sure we get this committee's priorities submitted by the 9th there. So looks like there's a couple months to discuss them, or at least a month.
Okay, I will work on my reading attention to detail. But yeah, glad that we've now all got a shared understanding of what's going on. That sounds like a good process for us to get the information on the 25th of April, and then we'll be able to discuss it in a couple of the or at least one of the meetings after that, and then submit our recommendations by June 9th. Yeah, seems good. Well, actually, I guess we really just have probably one meeting, just the May meeting. So that's that'll be on the agenda there.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, well, it looks like we'll have to meet in May probably there to go over everybody's opinions and get everybody's feedback, so we can put together the response there and make sure we get it turned in by the 9th. But yeah, we'll plan for May. That'll probably be the main agenda item for May, it looks like, there to get everyone's feedback on the project list.
Okay, perfect. Well, that is the end of my list of things that I wanted to talk about tonight. So we'll move on to other committee members' choice. And I guess, how about alphabetical order by last name? Member Diedrich?
Thank you. I don't have any additional topics to bring up this evening. I'm looking forward to being a part of the Hampden project and appreciate the opportunity to involve us on that. I think that's great, and I'm looking forward to reporting back to the group here and learning more. And if anybody has any things they would like for me or Jen to be talking about, we can meet one-on-one to talk about that, not 3 together unless we let the city know. So we'll be safe on that one. Also, one of the things I just want to say too, along the lines of that project, it sounds like there's going to be quite a bit of construction. There's going to be a lot of disruption to that area. You guys are replacing all of these lines and completely redoing the entire streetscape, which I think is going to be a fantastic thing for the area. And, we'll talk about, the construction disruptions, and some of those things are going to be a challenge. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about, what we'll do with bike and ped traffic. And, obviously there's a hospital. So, with the engineering background, that's interesting to me. How are we going to solve for those problems? And I'm looking forward to, learning more and being part of that. So if anybody has any thoughts or ideas on that, on the committee, let me know, and I'm happy to bring them up as part of the process too. And that's it for me.
All righty. Member Heller, welcome. It's great to have you joining the team. And yeah, so this section is just sort of any thoughts that you have that you wanted to share tonight that's not on the agenda yet.
Nope, I don't have anything, but I'm excited to be a part of the team. I was on Keep Englewood Beautiful. I think it's changed now to sustainability for probably about 3 years, and then took some time off, and now I'm back at it. So I'm excited to be part of the committee.
Good deal. Well, if you have any thoughts about I have gone to code enforcement advisory committee meetings in the past, and we had some joint meetings this fall with, I think, the zoning and planning committee, and I feel like it was interesting to learn how different committees run their stuff. And so if you have any advice about what we can do better, or what we should be doing, I certainly would love to hear it. All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Member Sarno?
Yeah, so first, yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you there. Member Heller join the committee as well too. So we enjoy fresh face and fresh perspective. So thanks for joining us there too. And your history, obviously, being as an Englewood citizen for numerous years, all your life, it seems, right? So you definitely have some background there. You can enlighten us, but glad to have you aboard. And just a couple comments there, observations. And Deputy Director Hoos, yeah, I have seen quite a bit more crosswalks going down, which is good to see. And whether they're just new or even refreshes, if you will, throughout the city, which I think it's just really it's really good to see that the city's keeping up with that. So just want to give it attaboy for that. And then also noticing too, speaking of the talking trash, I'm starting to see that. I've seen kind of like a little flyer that was sent to my house, and then the city's, you know, annual report as well too. I've seen that as well too. So it's great. I think the messaging is really greatly improved from the city over the course of many years here, but it's good to see that consistency in terms of when these big ticket items or subjects come up, that really you want to get it out to the public and to the citizens as much as possible. And I think that's being achieved. So I just wanted to also say thanks for that. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. All righty, well, if Brittany, if you have anything you'd like to add tonight, that would be, of course, welcome.
I'll thank Brittany for filling in for us here. I appreciate her filling in, Michelle,
Yes.
Supporting the trash meeting. So I appreciate her. We had a little bit of tragedy there at the start. We weren't sure how to promote everybody to presenter there. We weren't sure how we were going to do this, but luckily we were able to figure it out and keep the meeting on track.
Excellent, excellent work. Adapting, improvising, overcoming. Way to go. All right, well, thanks everybody for your time. I think that we've covered everything, and so the meeting can adjourn.
Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.